Imagine this. You've worked your whole life chasing one dream. Finally, your father gives you the gift of a lifetime, nearly $1 million to make it real. But just when everything feels possible, your own sister steals it. That's what happened to Megan Carter. And trust me, the way she turned betrayal into justice will leave you speechless. Before we dive in, if you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or stolen from, and wished you could see karma in action, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for one of the most jaw-dropping revenge stories you'll hear today. Megan Carter was 30, living in Chicago, grinding as a marketing coordinator. It wasn't glamorous, long hours, constant clients, barely enough time to breathe. But deep inside she had one dream, opening her own fashion boutique. Not just any store, she wanted a storefront that reflected her vision. Sleek designs, local art on the walls, carefully curated clothes that felt alive in people's hands. For years she'd sketched floor plans on the backs of receipts, scouted storefronts she couldn't afford, and kept Pinterest boards like secret treasure maps. And then, out of nowhere, her father, Daniel Carter, gave her a gift that changed everything. $800,000. He didn't do it with a big speech. He didn't brag. He just told her, "Meg, I believe in you. You've worked too hard to keep dreaming on scraps." For the first time, Megan felt free. She started scouting spaces in Salt Lake City, a quieter place than Chicago, but perfect for a boutique with character. She called it her lifeboat money. The funds weren't just cash, they were proof her father saw her as worthy. But dreams don't come without storms. Started with something small. Her sister Kristen called one night. "Hey, listen. Dad's birthday party next week is cancelled. He's caught a cold. He doesn't want people over." Megan frowned. She knew her father, he loved his birthday parties. The man would still throw one if he had pneumonia. And Kristen's voice. It sounded rehearsed, like she was reading from a script. So Megan brushed it off. Families get weird sometimes, right? But then she got a notification from her bank. Nothing huge, just an odd entry buried in her account activity. She barely noticed it. But later she'd realize that was the breadcrumb that would expose everything. Despite Kristen's call, Megan drove down to Sugar House, Utah. And sure enough, her father's birthday party was in full swing. Balloons, music, relatives everywhere. Her stomach knotted. When she walked in, her father looked at her like she'd just saved him. "Megan, glad you came. I was wondering if Kristen told you." He trailed off. They sat down. Halfway through the night, her father raised his glass for a toast. His words would change everything. He said, "I want to be fair with my girls. Megan, Kristen, I sent each of you $200,000 last month. On top of what I gave Megan for her store. Use it wisely." Megan froze. "What?" She looked at Kristen, whose face had gone pale, then flushed red. "Dad," Megan said slowly, "I never got that money." The room went silent. Forks paused midair. Her father frowned, confused. Kristen started babbling. Too fast, too defensive. You probably just didn't check the right account. Maybe it got delayed. Banks mess things up all the time." But Megan knew. Deep in her gut she knew. The sisters' cracks began to show. After the party, whispers started circling. Aunt Ellen pulled Megan aside and lowered her voice. "Meg, I don't want to stir trouble, but Kristen's been different. She's been flashing money. Designer bags, Paris trips, a new car. And you know she can't afford that on her own." Megan's blood ran cold. It made sense now. The cancelled party, Kristen's nervous energy, the way her mother had stayed oddly silent during the toast. It wasn't just negligence. Something deliberate was happening. The next morning, Megan confronted Kristen. "Where's the money?" Kristen scoffed, arms folded. "You're being paranoid. You always think you're the favorite. Maybe Dad just forgot he transferred it. Stop acting like I'm the villain." Her mother chimed in too with a half-hearted, "Your sister wouldn't do that, Megan. Families share, don't they?" But Megan wasn't buying it. She had spent her entire life working twice as hard to earn her place. And now her own sister was stealing not just money but her future. Inside, Megan's thoughts spun. This can't be happening. My own sister? My own mother covering for her? Her pulse raced. Her jaw ached from clenching. She wanted to scream, but instead she walked away, shaking with fury. Her father, Daniel, wasn't a man to play games. When he heard Megan's side, he went straight to the bank. The statement was clear. Kristen had accessed a joint account meant for both sisters. She withdrew the full $200,000, claiming it was for investments. But the trail showed luxury shopping, overseas flights, and jewelry stores. When confronted, Kristen crumbled. Tears, excuses, frantic babbling about planning to pay it back. But Daniel's face was stone. You didn't just steal from Megan. You stole from me. You betrayed this family. Even worse, their mother, Linda, had known. She hadn't stopped Kristen. She'd let the betrayal run its course. Megan felt like her chest was caving in. Her sister had gutted her dream. Her mother had turned her back. The people she should have trusted most had cut her deepest. That night, Megan sat in her car outside her father's house, shaking. The betrayal burned in her veins. But so did something else: clarity. She realized she had two choices. She could roll over, accept her sister's lies, let her dream die under the weight of family betrayal. Or, she could fight. And Megan wasn't done fighting. The silence after Kristen's confession was suffocating. The birthday candles had burned out, but no one dared to relight them. Megan's father, Daniel Carter, sat at the head of the dining table, his jaw tight, his eyes narrowing not with confusion anymore, but with the unmistakable steel of resolve. "Megan," he said quietly, "go sit with Aunt Ellen. I need to hear every detail from your sister." Kristen tried to play it off, shaking her head, her designer earrings catching the light. "Dad, you're making it bigger than it is. It's just money. Just money." His voice thundered. Everyone flinched. "This was your sister's future. This was my trust. And you call it just money?" Megan's heart raced, torn between rage and grief. Her own mother, Linda, sat frozen, wringing her hands but refusing to meet her eyes. Megan suddenly felt like she was 5 years old again, watching her parents argue, but this time the betrayal wasn't marital. It was maternal. Her own mother had known. Within 48 hours, Daniel had involved the police. He wasn't bluffing. Kristen's fraudulent withdrawals, documented, time-stamped, and tracked, were clear as daylight. The account had been joint, set up years ago when the girls were younger for education and emergencies. Kristen had used that loophole to siphon out every last dollar of the $200,000 that was supposed to belong to Megan. When confronted with the evidence, Kristen's bravado cracked. "It wasn't just for me," she screamed during the police interview. "Mom said Dad would give Megan everything anyway. She said I deserved a head start. I didn't think you'd notice." The officer's pens paused mid-scribble. That was the moment Megan's world shattered a second time. Her own mother, her supposed protector, had conspired in this. Daniel's hand landed firmly on Megan's shoulder. "We'll fight this. I promise you, sweetheart. They won't get away with it." The days that followed were a blur of legal paperwork, frozen accounts, and whispered phone calls. Megan, once the dreamer with sketches of boutique layouts taped to her Chicago apartment wall, now sat in her childhood room in Salt Lake City, staring at bank statements and wondering how family could feel like strangers. Kristen's life unraveled fast. The police seized luxury handbags, repossessed her leased European car, and began investigating her business investments, which were nothing more than personal vacations and designer shopping sprees. She screamed about humiliation, about how Megan had ruined her life. But Megan couldn't shake her mother's face from her mind. Linda never apologized. She never admitted guilt. Instead, she clung to Kristen, shielding her like a wounded child, as if betrayal were something to be nurtured instead of condemned. At night, Megan would lie awake, fists clenched, thinking, "If Mom could do this once, how many other times had she chosen Kristen over me?" By the time the case reached court, local media had caught wind. A Salt Lake family scandal headline made its way into small business sections. Aunt Ellen held Megan's hand tightly as they entered the courthouse. The prosecution laid it bare. Kristen had stolen. Linda had knowingly encouraged her. The defense tried spinning it as a misunderstanding, arguing Kristen assumed the funds were shared equally and had merely used her portion early. But the cold math didn't lie. Kristen had drained both her $200,000 and Megan's entire $200,000, leaving nothing but overdraft fees. When Megan took the stand, her voice shook, but not from weakness. "I didn't just lose money," she said, locking eyes with her sister. "I lost trust. I lost the belief that my family had my back. I worked every late shift in Chicago dreaming of building something of my own. And you," her voice cracked, You turned that dream into your vacation fund. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge leaned forward, eyes softened. Kristen looked away. The ruling was swift. Kristen guilty of financial misappropriation, Linda complicit in concealment. Kristen was sentenced to restitution payments, probation and community service. Assets, bags, jewelry, stocks under Kristen's name, were seized and liquidated. But here's the bitter truth. Most of the money was gone. Wasted. Megan would only ever see a fraction of it back. For a moment she wanted to crumble. Justice didn't refill her account. Justice didn't give her boutique back. And then her father made his move. That night, Daniel Carter sat Megan down at the kitchen table. His eyes were tired but steady. I rewrote my will today, he said, sliding over a thick folder. The house. The investment portfolio. Everything I worked for. It's yours. Megan's breath caught. Dad, I can't. You can, he interrupted. Because you were the one who stayed honest when it would have been easy to take shortcuts. Your sister and your mother showed me who they are. Now I'm showing you who I am. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, Why me? He smiled faintly. Because you remind me of me. And because, Megan, I want the Carter name to stand for something again. Integrity, not greed. With Aunt Ellen's help and her father's backing, Megan slowly rebuilt her life. She moved permanently to Salt Lake City, trading Chicago's skyscrapers for the Wasatch Mountains. Together they found a modest but charming storefront in Sugar House. It took every ounce of grit, every hour of lost sleep, but Carter's charm, her boutique, was born. Vintage-inspired with bold contemporary edges, it became a magnet for young professionals craving unique style. Every sale felt like revenge, not just on her sister but on every doubt, every betrayal. The boutique's tagline stitched onto the receipts read, Built on Truth. Kristen and Linda's decline. Meanwhile, Kristen's life spiraled. Without easy money, she was forced to take an entry-level retail job, swallowing the humiliation of working in the very world she once mocked. Friends stopped answering her calls. The restitution payments bled her paycheck dry. Linda fared no better. Her marriage to Daniel collapsed completely. She moved into a small apartment, clinging to Kristen, bitter and resentful, convinced Megan had turned Daniel against them. But Megan didn't need their approval anymore. She had something better. Peace. Months later, as Carter's Charm celebrated its grand opening with a crowd buzzing on champagne and laughter, Megan's phone buzzed. 27 missed calls from Kristen. Out of curiosity she answered one. Megan, please. Kristen's voice was desperate. They're talking about garnishing my wages. I can't keep up. Just, help me out this once. Megan looked around her boutique, sunlight glinting off the glass displays she had fought so hard to build. She could hear customers chatting, Aunt Ellen's laugh from across the room, her father sipping champagne with quiet pride. She smiled into the receiver. No, Kristen. I'm done being your safety net. And she hung up. That click, that small final sound, was the sweetest revenge of all. Megan's story isn't just about money stolen or boutiques built. It's about boundaries. It's about realizing that blood doesn't excuse betrayal, and family isn't always who shares your DNA. It's who shows up when the lights go out. Her revenge wasn't fiery or cruel. It was quiet, patient. It was proving to herself and everyone watching that resilience outshines greed, that truth survives lies, and that dreams, no matter how many times they're sabotaged, can still rise from the ashes.